pasar ahora entonces a nuestra cuarta speaker, Babs Carryer. Welcome, Babs.
Hi, welcome. Thank you very much. Hello, Peter. I am very happy to be here, and I want to talk to you guys. I know that from Peter that you are mostly undergraduate engineers, engineering students, designers, and innovators and entrepreneurs, which is exactly the sort of person that I like to talk to, because I believe it's really important that you guys understand the importance of innovation and entrepreneurship. So with that, I'm going to share my screen and go through a few slides. I hope that's all right. And I hope that you will be able to understand my English. I come to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I want to talk to you about what I call the innovation imperative. So in English, the word imperative, I'm sure there's a Spanish equivalent. Imperative means the necessity of innovation. In other words, it's not a choice or something that maybe we should do or maybe not do. No, I think it's absolutely essential for the survival of our world. So let me see if there's anything in the chat that for now it's okay. All right, great. So yes, I run the Big Idea Center at the University of Pittsburgh. I spent many years before this university. I was at Carnegie Mellon University, helping to build what I call the entrepreneurial ecosystem there. And then I came a mile away to do this exact same thing at the University of Pittsburgh. So fundamentally, I am not a researcher. I'm not really an academic. I do not have a PhD. I do have a master's degree, but I am an entrepreneur first and foremost. I've started and been involved with many companies for many years. I also really believe in the education part of entrepreneurship. I think that it's very important for people that know entrepreneurship to teach entrepreneurship, teach why it matters, and teach the process of it so that people like yourselves can go out and innovate and create new products and services that change the world at the end of the day. I do a tremendous amount of mentoring and coaching of young entrepreneurs, mostly students, but not exclusively students. So I'm on the board of directors and an advisor with many companies. I'm actually an investor in a few companies in the United States as well. And I'm a writer. I write about startups as well. So these are the companies that I was involved with forming directly. They are mostly in the life sciences healthcare space. It started with this one down here, the Launch Site company, which was kind of like an incubator, which then formed all these other companies that I've been involved with. So I've written a murder mystery. Of course, it's not been translated into Spanish, I'm sorry to say, but it takes place at a university where a scientist is killed and a startup that was formed on the basis of his research, the young woman who works there must solve the murder. So if you're interested in a healthcare-oriented murder mystery, I would be happy for you to pick that up on Amazon. It's not expensive. And this book is a book that my students made me write from a series of blog posts that I had done. This is all of the things that I wish I had known when I started my company 20 years ago. It's very short. It's a skinny little 100-page book. So I think that it's really important for people who have been entrepreneurs like myself to do what I call unleash the innovator. People often ask me, can entrepreneurship be taught? And I would say you can teach the process of entrepreneurship, and you can also unleash the entrepreneur within. Sometimes young entrepreneurs don't know that they have entrepreneurial tendencies. So I view my job as one of inspiring people to actually consider to become an entrepreneur, to demystify what entrepreneurship and innovation actually are, and to then encourage and support those kind of people as they go through their journey. To me, that's an innovation imperative. It is absolutely essential that our world support, encourage, inspire innovators to create solutions for some of the problems that we have, not just in Chile, but in the United States and around the rest of the world. So I like to start with the difference between science or technology, if you will, and business. So I'm going to go through this list, which you're going to read. I'm not going to read them. But if you look on the business side versus what the science or technology, this is how they view things very differently. So really, scientists and technology people don't view things in the same way as business people. And this is a real problem because you actually need both. So in order for there to be successful companies, you need technology and scientific expertise, and you also need business expertise. And it's why I think it's really important, and I'm glad I'm talking to technical people. I think it's really important that you guys learn the business side of things. Not that you need to become a business person, but you need to come at least halfway for those two kind of disparate groups of people to understand each other in the world. So in the United States, and I think this is true all around the world, I've been to Chile twice at universities, and I've been to Brazil, and I've been to Turkey and Algeria and Portugal and other places. Commercialization and entrepreneurship and startups and business and money, these are considered bad by researchers and by universities. It's kind of a sellout in some ways. And entrepreneurship is often considered by students to be too risky to go into as a career. And I would say in combating that, I have done a lot of research with researchers where I've asked over a 25-year period, what's your goal? Why did you become a researcher? And quite frankly, I've done the same for students. What's your goal? What do you want to do with your life? Where do you want to go with your dreams? And you know what they all say? Something like this. They want to change the world. They want to make the world a better place. They want to help people. So whether you're going into a university to become a researcher or to get a job afterwards, a lot of the goals are the same. And to me, that's the pinnacle of entrepreneurship. I believe this is Torres del Paine, which I have visited and done some climbing on. It was very rigorous. And you know, reaching the top of the mountain is everything that entrepreneurship is. It is not necessarily easy, but it is not necessarily that risky in today's society, which changes so quickly. Think about how quickly COVID has changed all of our lives. And it happened in a matter of weeks and just a couple of months. And suddenly we're all on Zoom, working from home. So change is part of the very fabric of everything that we do and who we are. And therefore, I think there's more opportunities than ever for change to happen through entrepreneurship. I also think that even if you don't want to become an entrepreneur, what does every company on this planet want? And I look at Pfizer and Stryker and Google and even things like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. What do they want? New products, new services, solutions to the problems that exist. Something that engineers are uniquely qualified to do. Engineers are fabulous problem solvers. The only mistake that I see them make sometimes is that they solve problems that nobody cares about. They have not investigated the market or the market need before. So no matter whether you choose to be an entrepreneur or you're going to get a job or you're going to go into research, understanding the process of innovation is absolutely essential because that's what we're doing as humans. So what do all those companies and what does entrepreneurship rely on? It relies on the mind inside the entrepreneur to come up with the great ideas that are going to change the world. And where are the best minds? They're right here. They're at the universities. They're at these places like this conference and these events where they bring together people that are trying to do new things. So you have an opportunity, and I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes talking about how we tackle the problem of how to teach entrepreneurship at the University of Pittsburgh. So I'm part of the Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship as what I do with the Big Idea Center. And what we're trying to do with the Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship is really accelerate the innovations that are coming out of our university. And we do that through offering a series of programs, lots of services, support, sometimes funding for those kinds of programs. And fundamentally, we do three things in this Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. We do what I call innovation commercialization, which is the commercialization of intellectual property that belongs to the university because it came from federal funding. So that's IP, intellectual property that belongs to the university. We do student innovation and entrepreneurship, and that's my world, that's what I run. And then we also support the region, the Pittsburgh region, which is a small, somewhat isolated city that has been very important in the United States history, but then went through very much of an economic downturn, not too dissimilar from Valparaiso and some of the other cities in Chile. We used to create steel, and we don't have that anymore. So we work, part of our Innovation Institute does work with the regional. And these are some of the results. So we did a 5-year analysis, a 4-year, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So 5 years analysis. We had almost 2,000 invention disclosures put forth into the university. We filed for almost 500 patents. We did lots of transactions where we licensed technology coming out of the university. Student startups, we had almost 60 student startups just in the last 5 years. And then lots of regional impact through the kinds of programming that we do in terms of the number of startups that we've helped. And we, of course, have programs for the faculty. These are the professors and researchers at our university. And we do it through a program we like to call Pitt Ventures. And so we do a series of programs trying to help researchers and principal investigators and our professors understand the value of commercialization. And of course, we also do it for students, which is my first love. And we do that through providing education. We do lots of events and competitions. We do mentorship, and we have programs, and we even have some money. Not a lot, not enough, but we're working on that. So I have 5 entrepreneurs in residence. These are people who work part-time, 1 day a week for me, and all they do is meet with students and try to help them achieve their dreams. And then in addition, I have 2 other people that work for me at the Big Idea Center. So we're 3 full-time faculty and 5 part-time faculty. We're the equivalent of 4 people. So not a whole lot of resources. I mean, yes, it's 4 salaries, but not a whole lot. And we actually accomplish really quite a lot. So we look at entrepreneurship in 4 categories. We think it's important that students get initiated, that first one, into entrepreneurship. That makes it easy. So we do a lot of speaking engagements and panel discussions. Then we ask students to participate. These are events and competitions. Then we accelerate the ones that are serious. We'll put them through our accelerator that we have at our university. And then an incubator that is a year-long program where we incubate the startups, whether they're still students or maybe they're recent graduates. And this is the kind of support that I think you have to give to students. So in the fall semester for us, this is where we do a lot of initiating. We have a kickoff event, and we did a diversity panel with 5 African-American entrepreneurs, and we did another one for female entrepreneurs. And then we just are right in the middle of Global Entrepreneurship Week. Actually, Global Entrepreneurship Week is next week, but we had to move our entire week. We had a guy named Ben Weiss, who's the founder of a drink called BAI, B-A-I, which is Mandarin for perfect, I think, or serenity or something like that. And he built his company from nothing in his basement to an exit of $1.7 billion fairly recently and started yet a new company. So he came in and talked last night and inspired over 100 students at our event. And then in the spring, it's more participatory. This is where we have our competitions. We have an all-female hackathon. We run a 24-hour ideation, idea to pitch competition. And then we have a competition that lasts for a couple of months with really big cash prizes of $100,000. 25,000 US dollars is the top prize for that competition. So students that are serious enter that competition, and some of them win money. And then in the summer, we accelerate them through putting them through what we call Blast Furnace, which is our student accelerator. And then if they make it through our competition and then they make it through our accelerator, we will invite them to participate in our incubator, where I have a little bit of seed funding, and we continue to work with them all year long. This is true even after they graduate. And all of us at the Big Idea Center use my translational canvas. This is a canvas that I developed before the business model canvas, which I don't think works. It doesn't work for healthcare, and it doesn't work, in my opinion, for students. So I start with the problem, then understand who the stakeholders are who care about that problem, and only then do you think about the solution, then the benefits of your solution to the stakeholders, then the competition. Who are the competitors and what are their strengths? And then why are you going to be different? And all of those 6 boxes, red, right, left to right, left to right, left to right, that gets wrapped into your action plan, which is really your business plan. We have lots of partnerships with our local region, which I think is in part important for funders, for accelerators, for additional outside mentors, that can continue to help our students once they've graduated and they're doing their startups. And we have, this is just a sampling of a lot of our different startups. Like I said, we have close to 60 that have exited out of the university over the last 5 years. And they're doing just amazing things. Really interesting technology solutions in general to some thorny problems. So for you in Chile, as students and as innovators and as entrepreneurs, I think that you have an amazing opportunity. It's why I visited Chile twice to do talks and workshops and work with some of your regional universities. I think it's important that your opportunity while you're at a university, go ahead and learn the process of innovation, take entrepreneurship classes, engage with other students across multiple disciplines. So engineers meet business students, meet medical students, try to get beyond just people that are just like you. Participate in all of the events and programs that you can, like the event that you're at right now. Network with entrepreneurs, business people, mentors, people in industry, all kinds of people that can help you in your future. And don't be afraid to take a risk. Entrepreneurship today, this might not have been true forever, but today it's a bit of a risk to a particular job, but it is not a risk to your career. Because if you start a company, even if that company is not a success, what you have learned about management, about working with people, about finance, about funding, about bringing a product to market, about customers and listening to your customers, those skill sets make you highly desirable for companies. I'd like to close with Go Chile. So I know that in the United States, we just won a very important election. You can tell on which side I am. And I hope that we can have, that we can fix our country. Our country has gone through a terrible time, and I'm hoping that we can fix it. I know that in Chile, I don't follow all of your politics, but I know that as a country, you have an opportunity to rewrite your constitution. This is something we've never really done in the United States. So I think you have a lot of opportunity in Chile, and I think it should be surrounded by entrepreneurship. And I want to bring you some examples. And I don't know too much, so I may be oversimplifying, but I know, for example, that electric cars are going to be an amazingly big industry. Look at Tesla. The stock price for Tesla is up up, up. And where do they get the batteries? From lithium. And where is lithium mined? In Chile. Same with some of your fish, right? Same with wool. And yet I've seen that the lithium just gets exported to be made into batteries, that the fish get exported, that the wool down from Patagonia gets sent to New Zealand to be made into products and finer wool. To me, you have an opportunity to not just be a commodity supplier of raw product like lithium and wool, but you have an opportunity to make things. That's where value is created. That's how you change your society. That's how the world gets changed. And Chile is ideally positioned, I think, to be there. So with that, I'd love to open it up for questions. I did not read the chat as I was going along. My apologies. Yes, please.
Thank you, Babs, for your motivating speech. Very interesting, your work in the Big Idea Center and your vision about innovation and education. It is very inspiring for us to hear something like that. Now we're gonna go for a round of questions from the audience. I have here first, Claudio says, glad to hear you. I'm a PIT MSEE, Master of Science Electrical Engineer, and MS Information Science graduate. Don't you feel it is overwhelming the amount of new ideas and projects that are all over the world?
Well, that's a very good question, and happy to talk to a PIT alum. Bravo. I'm not overwhelmed by it. I'm encouraged by that. Not every new idea is going to make it to market. So in that respect, that is definitely the case. But this is how it happens. And there will be some new ideas that make it to market. So I really am very encouraged by the thinkers who are coming up with really novel solutions to very difficult problems. I teach a class at Carnegie Mellon still. It's called AI innovation, artificial intelligence innovation. And it's basically entrepreneurship for technical people studying AI, getting a master's in AI. And they have amazing ideas. But when you think about AI is not a thing. AI is a means to a thing. AI can be used in healthcare, can be used in construction, can be used in mining. And so I'm trying to really help people focus on how you put the technology brains in context to help create new products. And in that respect, the more volume there is, the more sure we are that we'll come up with actual answers and solutions. I hope that answered your question, Claudio.
Next question. How do you, from an anonymous maker, how do you foresee the future of entrepreneurship with the actual conditions due to COVID? Where do you think are the opportunities?
Well, that's another great question. I think the fact that we're on this platform called Zoom, just imagine Zoom was nothing a year ago. And so how did it happen? Well, it solved a need. So I think that COVID it's a terrible situation, but it has forced us as humans to think differently. I think that the effects will be very long lasting. I don't think we will ever go back to how we were before. So I think that we have to look for how to make it work now. So I think a lot of startups in the United States turned their business. We have a business in Pittsburgh called Wiggle Whiskey. They make whiskey, scotch and rum and yummy whiskey. And they turned to making sanitizer when we couldn't get sanitizer in the United States, to sanitize your hands. This is innovation. And there's lots of room for innovation in spite of the COVID situation. So there's room for how to get people to interact better in a virtual world like Zoom. There's lots of opportunity in the healthcare space, obviously, for vaccines and things like that. I mean, we in the United States, we're giving some very fast approvals as things come through the pipeline for treatments and for vaccines. And I think that a disease like COVID, this is not the first COVID. This is, one COVID, and this is not going to be the last. So we are going to have to change how we do things, and change is an entrepreneur's food. That's how entrepreneurs find the opportunities, because we are dissatisfied with the status quo. So I don't really know how to predict where the opportunities lie, but you can say that more people will be working from home, more people will be working virtually and interacting virtually, and there's more and more of a need for healthcare and for protective equipment. So there's lots of opportunity. You just have to find it. And it is challenging to do that, but it is well worth the effort, because then you feel like your life has meaning because you're actually creating impact.
Perfect. And now we have a question from Nico. How can we change the idea for innovation from being an expense to being something else for headmasters at schools?
So this is where I think how things function in Chile is very different, perhaps, than how they function in the United States. So I'm thinking of mostly universities. In universities in the United States, we have, I think, 4,000 or 5,000 universities or something like that in the United States. I would say that 80% of them teach entrepreneurship now, because they recognize how important that is. They don't necessarily do it well, but they do it. And because it's a mandate, because it's essential. So it's no longer viewed as an expense, it's viewed as a culture, as an embedded part of what we have to do for education. And prior to universities at the high school level, we find the same thing is happening, that high schools are offering either entrepreneurship as a class or sometimes as a module within another class. There are entrepreneurship clubs for young people. So I think that it has to, if it's looked at as an only an expense, then it's never going to happen. If it's looked at as being an essential ingredient, then you find the way to make that happen, including finding a way to pay for it. Now, in the United States, we have a strong culture of giving back, of donations. So the Big Idea Center was formed with a $2 million donation that I secured from somebody who is an alum, who is on the board of directors of the University of Pittsburgh, and who saw what I did for 4 years in terms of building programs basically by myself from scratch. So I got paid a salary, but I did most everything else with very little money. He saw how impactful that was and decided to give some of his own personal wealth to the university in order to do that. I think that that's a challenge in Chile, and not just Chile, but in many other countries around the world that don't have that same kind of culture. That said, as entrepreneurs get formed, as they become successful, you can go ask them to give back and to give talks and to help out. So I think you have to turn all of this discussion from being about money to being about outcomes. How can Chile turn itself into, if you are considered, you're definitely not a third world country. I've been there. Are you a first world country? Maybe. I know that I met people down there that said, exactly. They said, we are a second world country. Yeah. So if you want to increase your economy, how is that going to happen? You think it's going to be by exporting lithium so that everybody else can make really expensive products that are high in value and high margin? Probably not. So is going to be successful as a country because of entrepreneurship, not in spite of entrepreneurship, but because of entrepreneurship. And if your government and if your universities embrace that, you will find a way to make it happen, because it's not that expensive to do. It's more expensive to not do it, because the opportunity cost of not encouraging students to take the entrepreneurship path when they can, when they're young, what do you have to lose? Nothing. You graduate from a university, very few of you will have children, very few of you will have spouses, very few of you will have homes that you own. So yes, you might give up a job, but you can get that job later for more money because you'll have better experience. So the risk is low, and the risk of not doing it as a country is very high, I think.
Yeah, interesting. So the last question from the audience, Lorraine asks, how race and social class impact entrepreneurship and endeavors?
Yeah, great topic. So in the United States, women technology entrepreneurs are less than 10%. It's awful. And I've worked for 20 years to try to change that as a female entrepreneur. There are very few female entrepreneurs. They can't get any funding because all the money is in the hands of men. So I always like to say women are not the problem. Men are actually the problem. And the same is true for minorities. So one of the things that I believe in strongly and that I do is I put on programs for minorities and for women, because the problem that I had as a female entrepreneur when I started 20 years ago was that I had no models. There was nobody else like me. Of course, there were some, but there were very few people like me. And I think that if I can put forth models and say, hey, look, students at my university, here's 5 African-American entrepreneurs, all under the age of 30. Here's 2 women entrepreneurs that are, doing great things. If I can provide models, that will help. So I think it's very important as leaders in Chile that you try to be very diverse and inclusive of your entire population around innovation and entrepreneurship. And to do that, you have to proactively do that. You can't just wait for it to happen magically. It doesn't. You have to proactively do that. For me, I put up models of people because I think people do things because they see other people do things that remind them of themselves. So if they see a female entrepreneur and they're a young woman, they might say, wow, if she can do it, I can too. And the same is true for any minority. And that's true anywhere around the world.
Yes. Bueno, con esta pregunta los dejamos a todos invitados para la jornada del viernes, Mujeres con M de Makers, dedicada a las mujeres en la tecnología y la innovación. Thank you once again, Babs, for sharing your experience, for giving us time. It was very, very interesting and inspiring. So thank you once again.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.